All right, good afternoon. I'll get us going here. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Fargo Public Library Board of Directors. Before we get started, I'll take a roll call here, starting on my left.
Wanda Mangelcook.
John Rodenbiker. And who do we have on the phone?
You have Jenna Reno on the phone.
Chris Schiffer.
Commissioner Turnberg.
Excellent. Thank you very much. All right, we have a quorum. First order, do we have a motion to approve the agenda? All right, thank you, Paul. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second. All in favor, please say yes.
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 And none opposed. Next, the minutes of the November meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Chris Schiffer, I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Chris. Do I have a second? Thank you, Paul. Any discussion? All in favor, please say yes.
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 And that is unanimous. All right, do we have any public comment today? Yes, sir.
Yes, my name's Christopher Cohn. I'm a Fargo resident. And I'd like to talk about concerns I have about the library administrative leadership, particularly the top person. I use an open records request to get his entire personnel record, and I've been going through it, starting at the beginning of his tenure. I think it was 2009. And one of the things that most concerned me in there was one of the voluntary exit interview involving someone who left voluntarily, and she had some very concerning comments that were made, and I thought that probably should have been investigated by the Department of HR. I put in a request for that, and they had nothing responsive to that, meaning there's no documents that show that they ever followed up on that or looked into it or did anything about it. But that doesn't surprise me because, I think a lot of us are now aware of what happened in the ComSCA department and how the administration department and HR handles the various departments of the city and the department heads. And things can get so bad that they're not handled until it's too late. That is when there's an official complaint and a possible lawsuit. And that doesn't work. So what I think is the board here needs to get all the documents that I've gotten and start going through them all and look at the employee comments that they've left in his personnel file over the years. At the very beginning of them, when you start in the years, it starts with 3 negative ones at the very beginning. Okay, so based on the personal experiences I've had with him, none of that is surprising me. One time I just went and asked for an annual report for the city, and I had to go through him to get one. None available in the library, on the shelf, at the reference desk, anywhere. He had to come out of his office and give one to me, and he gave me a dirty look. And I'd never met him before. That's the very first experience I had with him. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other public comment today? Seeing none, we will move on to the staff report.
Hello, you have my report in your packet. I'll just give you some brief highlights. Updates, there are 2 part-time positions open at the branches. My report only has 1. Somebody else has put in their notice that they're leaving soon. Currently in the interview stage, and since we have the 2 open positions, they will hopefully be able to hire 2 people out of that same pool. And I also want to mention that our outreach librarian and volunteer coordinator, Pam Straight, is retiring at the end of this month. She's been with the library for almost 25 years. So she's the one that coordinates not only all of our volunteers that come in and do shelving and other things, she also coordinates all of the visits to the senior living facilities and the homebound deliveries around the city. That position is at an administrative level, so that will be filled in the new year. Some more depressing news. The service changes resulting from budget cuts are going to go into effect at the beginning of January. I have the major changes listed in my report. We're anticipating that the one that will cause most frustration for patrons will be the restriction of content from Libby and Overdrive to City of Fargo residents. Our circulation managers have done a really good job of disseminating talking points for everybody working a public service desk of none of us wanted this. The cuts had to come from someplace. Hopefully people will be understanding, but we really won't know until January. On the flip side to happier news, we still have a bunch of things happening at the library. A couple that I want to mention, we're having a Bluey themed New Year's Eve party for children. They're going to have a countdown and a celebration at noon on New Year's Eve for them to celebrate the new year. For Christmas, we are trying something new this year, and we're going to have wrapping stations set up at the Carlson branch. It'll have wrapping paper, bags, ribbons, bows, tape, everything you need to get all of your wrapping done, so people can just drop in, hang out, drink hot chocolate, and get their last-minute wrapping done before the season. And then the last thing I want to highlight is that next year is the Fargo Public Library's 125th anniversary. There are many events in the works for the first quarter, but we have two coming up. The first is that the theme for the Winter Reading Challenge next year is the library's birthday. That starts the first Monday in January and can be done through the Beanstack app, which we've used for the last couple years. And then the second is an open house that we're having to celebrate the birthday of the library. That's going to be Saturday, January 10th. There will be crafts, cookies, and we've been going through kind of the storage of the library and all the file cabinets and photos to find some artifacts that we can put on display that people can come and see all the things we've done in the past century.
Wonderful.
Century and a quarter. Got to get all the credit.
Thank you, Megan. Next up is the director's report.
Yes, per your packet, you can see there, I would, in terms of the repurposing of the library copy space, been working continually with facilities and in regards to, what we can do. They also went out and got different bids in terms of that. It's still on the high end. So I will be meeting with city administration this week to see where we can do in terms of next steps to get that project off the ground. So I'm hoping we can get that done. I think it's really important that we don't have unused space like that and have it functional and serving the public. That's the big one there. If anyone has any questions per my report.
Any questions for the director? Hearing none. Next up on the agenda is unfinished business, which we have none, and then new business, e-content overview/update.
Yes, we're lucky enough to have Jenny Kennewisher here with us. She's our collection development and working with tech services, and kind of, I think with all the changes that were going on that Megan mentioned, and kind of revisiting e-content because it's so popular, and just kind of, the environment and what it really means in terms of the restrictions and this kind of thing. So take it away, Jenna Lee.
Yeah, so like Tim said, he asked me to come talk more about what the changes would look like, and I decided to take it just a little further and also talk about the consortium and our role in that and how that works as well. I thought I'd just start with basics. The name of it is the Digital Consortium, North Dakota Digital Consortium, but you'll also see it known as Library to Go. As far as who can participate, it's open to any North Dakota Public Library as well as the North Dakota State Library. There's a few things around being a member of the consortium. The first is just that there is a yearly fee. It's required based on your library size. I'll talk about that a little bit more. And then other than that, member libraries just have to follow the North Dakota Consortium bylaws as well as overdrive rules. There are currently over 30 North Dakota public libraries, including ourselves, the Fargo Public, as well as the North Dakota State Library, who are members of the consortium. And the consortium's purpose is, I took this right from our bylaws, the mission is to provide widespread access to a variety of digital content for patrons from participating libraries. So that leaves it open for some other options, but for the most part, what the consortium does and has done for the last decade is oversee and purchase materials for the library to-go collection. So for our patrons who are using Libby and Overdrive, this is how we work together to get all of those things into the collection. There's a few roles that the consortium has, and these are spread among member libraries. The first few are our chair-elect, and our collection head. Those are rotating roles for any library that has at least 10,000 people in their service population. With that 30 public libraries, we get down to pretty small libraries that are still part of the consortium, so we kind of ask those who have a larger library to participate in that way. There are also selectors for the consortium. That's more of a volunteer role. And those, we have selectors for adult fiction, adult nonfiction, teen, and children's materials. We've had staff from Fargo Public in, I think, all or most of these roles over the last decade, and especially that chair and chair-elect will come back to us because that comes on a rotating basis as well. As far as how we get funding for that consortium spending, there's a few different ways, and I'll try and explain that here. The main one is, or one of the ones, is the yearly funds. So like I said, all member libraries have to contribute a fee every year, and that fee is between $1,500 and $9,000 depending on the service area population. So Fargo Public is paying $9,000 because as the larger library in the state, but some of the smaller libraries are maybe only paying $1,500. Most of that fee, the majority of the fee goes back to collection spending. So basically when we pay that $9,000, I believe it's 2/3 of it goes back and is spent on the collection. The other third is the platform fee that allows us to use Overdrive and the services and support that they bring as well. There's a few other ways that we get materials and funds spent through the consortium. One is that funds can be given directly to the consortium for those consortium selectors to spend. So maybe it's a smaller library, maybe it's a one-time deal where you have a little money that you want to put towards ebooks, and then you can put that money towards the consortium. Most of our larger libraries in the state are also spending funds and selecting materials themselves on top of the consortium selectors. So for instance, Fargo Public is spending a fairly large amount as well on top of that fee that we have. So the way we do this is with Overdrive Advantage accounts, which I'll try and keep fairly surface level. I can get pretty in the weeds with all the Overdrive things, but the basics of it is that all North Dakota Consortium purchases can be seen and checked out by all of the member library patrons. So we're all buying into the same pool, and then we can all check out from the same pool. The libraries can choose to use Advantage, which kind of gives, the main thing we use it for is to give our patrons holds priority. So essentially, rather than waiting with the entire consortium, Fargo Public Library's patrons move to the top of the list for things that Fargo Public Library has purchased. So that's kind of a nice compromise where it still allows us to have this cooperative agreement, but also focus on our patrons as well while we're working within that atmosphere. I wanted to show you a little bit of just the growth of digital content, and especially Overdrive at Fargo Public. The graph there just shows the green is the physical material circulation, the blue on top is our digital. circulation. So you can see it's a larger and larger piece of our circulation over especially the last 5 years since COVID. And especially, so in the last 12 months, we've had over 360,000 checkouts on Overdrive, which ends up roughly being around 30% of our circulation. So we know this is like a really important service for our patrons and something they are really drawn to. As far as other stats around Overdrive, we currently have around 9,000 active holds, and that's right at this moment. That's not over the last year. That is how many people are waiting for, or how many items are being waited for by Fargo patrons right now. So it's big. And then the average wait time is a little over 5 weeks right now. We've brought that down a little bit with various methods we're trying around the edges with Overdrive, but we know that's still a bit of a wait as far as the average goes. And then just how much we're spending. In 2025, we budgeted and spent $215,000 on Overdrive spending, and I would say the majority of that is buying down holds, so buying the things that people are waiting for, because we're trying to have the breadth of the collection, the different materials, the new releases, all that, but we're mostly or very focused on where we know the demand is as far as the people waiting for holds, trying to get that wait time and interest. Yeah, and then just how this relates to the 2026 changes, like Megan said, patrons who are not Fargo residents will not have access to Libby using their Fargo library card anymore. There are some options around that we're ready to show our patrons as far as when they run into that. Obviously, other libraries around us also have access to Libby, either on the Moorhead side, Laurel has its own system, or West Fargo is part of our consortium. And then as well as those, the North Dakota State Library offers a card to any North Dakota resident. And it's actually pretty easy. We've had a couple staff members try it. It's an online application, and they send the card or card number to you. And so that's an option, since the North Dakota State Library is also a member of the consortium. So with those patrons, if they choose to get a state library card, or if they're using their library card from another member library, they'll see the same collection as they would have or would with their Fargo library card. It's just that the hold times will be different, and that I honestly can't say how much better or worse on a per item basis, because it really is dependent on that library's purchases and advantage settings. So the hold times will be different, but the collection that any North Dakota resident or North Dakota consortium member library patron would see.
Yeah, if I could add
Yeah.
quick, you go back and you look at that number of holds, and you look at the wait time, and you know how popular this gets. You know, in knowing that we don't have any additional resources in terms of budget to kind of counteract those numbers right there. And also considering that West Fargo and Moorhead sequester their access the same way. Prior to the budget cuts, we were pretty wide open and that reflects on some of the hold activity. So we're, based on economy of resources, we're moving into more of the status quo that existed around us prior to the budget. And certainly, we want to focus on something this popular, certainly for our tax-paying residents. So that was really what we were looking at. Thank you, Jelly.
Yeah, and if anyone has questions, I'm happy to answer now or find them later. I'm sure Tim can get back to you too.
Any questions? Hearing none, thank you very much for that informative presentation.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda are stat reports. Usage?
Yes, per your packet, you can see registrations just under 52,000 registered patrons. In terms of attendance, year-to-date through the end of November, just down 7% over last year. Obviously, the impacts of Sundays continue. Program attendance, though, very strong. year-to-date through the end of November, up 14% over last year. You can see that increase just almost 6,000 over last year. Volunteer hours, just up 3% over last year, looking good. Thank you, volunteers. Internet sign-up, down 15, again, with no Sundays, impact there. Electronic activity, down 17%. You can see that over last year. In terms of circulation, year-to-date through the end of November, just up, just under almost 6% over last year, equals like 58,629 more items. Again, the auto renewal being a driver there, just FYI on that. If there's any questions on usage.
Any questions? Hearing none, move on to the financials.
Yes, again, per your packet, the donation summary, you can see on the revenue side, the $155 of unrestricted. That was $5 from a payroll deduction, a monthly giving, and then $150 from a Mr. James Long. On the restricted, you see a $500 donation from a Mr. Bruce Eisler for nonfiction, so thanks for those donors. On the expenditure side, you see $505 for one book, one community adverts. And then the $962, $712 of that is reimbursing Concordia for one book, one community, and $250 for Crafter Noons. The $211, that's for children's books, and the $30 is for the Way to Go staff recognition on a monthly basis. In terms of operating through the end with 92% of year lapse, you can see with just over 87% expended. We're getting down to the wire on that. And revenue, you see, is just under 31,000 through the end of November. Any questions?
Any questions for the director on the financials? Nope. All right, with no questions, that will take us to our Friends of the Library report.
Hi, everyone. I can't believe that it's already December of 2025. So I kind of had that in mind as I did my report today, and just want to do like a few highlights of what we were able to accomplish together and as the library. So, obviously our mission is to support the Fargo Public Library, and that's through, advocacy, fundraising, and membership. So particularly in the advocacy category, one of the things our board is really proud of is our read-in in March, and what we were able to do with that. We had a really strong turnout of over 80 people that were coming, and also it was so cold that day too, so even more appreciative that people came out for it. We had our best ever book sale this fall with the addition of some extra support at Carlson, and really just making sure that the marketing was there, and that we just had this increased presence. And then this summer, the FM Area Foundation noticed the great work that we were doing, and they granted us, $2,000 to work with operating. And I think really strongly is that the libraries are doing amazing things, and everybody sees that. And so I want to say just thank you to all of you. Tim, thank you to you as well. And then finally, just wanted to share, final numbers aren't in yet, but we were able to support with over $25,000 in funding requests for the library, and that includes full support of both Tuesdays for Toddlers and Northern Narratives. And then I just want to wrap up with a big thank you to everybody on our board. I know they can't hear me today, but want to share that with all of you. They really all pitch in and do a great work. And then also to our bookstore manager, Perry. He's really wonderful. We could not pull off the book sales without him. So just a big thank you for that. Any other questions for me?
Big thank you to the Friends, too.
Yeah.
And Marissa, and you've done a wonderful job this past year.
Thank you.
The board is fantastic.
They really are, yeah. They do a great job.
Any questions?
All right.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
All right, that takes us to the end of our agenda. Our next regular meeting is January 20th, and we are adjourned.
The next meeting, because the Monday is the Martin MLK holiday for the city, that means the Tuesday, the commission meeting will fall on a Tuesday. So the library board meeting will take place at the main library community room. That
Thank
will
you
be
for
the
that
one
note.
change. I'll put it in big bold on the agenda, so
Sounds good.
it's in the community room.
All right. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.